So this is just a quick note that Pincus and Novak have said in 2011. And they're talking about a more synthetic, integrative, and problem-centered history, one that rejects the assumption that economic historians, social historians, political historians, and cultural historians have, that all their historical subdisciplines should be studied in isolation from each other. In just they're saying we need to combine the things together. And I think this is an excellent perspective to take in your article or in your essay competition. You can note, for example, like this is something where cultural and political history can be combined together, answering Pincus and Novak's call from 2011. And if you were to mention something like that, I would probably include that in the introduction. So drawing on from this, there's another fairly recent subdiscipline in history, which is the history of emotions. And I included this because we've already looked at Katie Buckley, who's a significant historian in this field, specifically for this essay competition that we're looking at. And the key premise of the history of emotions is that emotion varies across time and place, and so has a history that can be explored by scholars. And group emotions are not the same as collective feeling, where people feel the same thing at the same time. And if you have the time, I would encourage you to pause the video at this point and ask and try to answer why I picked out these two quotations and why you think it might be relevant for the essay competition. Right, so I hope you did pause the video and I hope you do have some answers. They might be different to the answers that I give, but I think this is a useful starting point for you, because if you do want to take a history of the emotions approach, you can use this and you can use this and say, oh, history of the emotions is directly relevant here because of this. And I think the second quotation for me is the most significant, when they say that group emotions are not the same as collective feeling, when people feel the same thing at the same time. So this is taken slightly out of context because there was a few paragraphs in this article which talked about group emotion and how, for example, some emotions like anger have the same cultural significance for one group of societies, whereas if you go to a complete different country or different society, the emotion like anger is treated very differently. Collective feeling, however, is something that's more universal, more done at the same time, less individual. And we spoke previously about how music is perceived individually, but also how music is something that can also be collective. It can be experienced collectively at the same time by a group of people. So I think this is interesting because if you think about protest movements and, for example, people sing the same songs at the same time in revolutions, or, for example, through the radio, like we'll see in the case of Algeria. If you think about these two contexts, people can feel the same thing at the same time. It brings people together and it creates almost a form of community. And I think this can be very powerful because it goes beyond the individual and it allows for communities to act as instigators for change. It's very hard to make change when you're just one individual, but if you're protesting or if you're participating in the French Revolution in a crowd of 3,000 other people and you're all feeling the same thing at the same time, then that can be a significant catalyst for historical change. And just briefly on the first quote here, the key premise of the history of emotions is that emotion varies across time and space, and so has a history that can be explored by scholars.